Duke now firmly has one hand on that ACC regular season title, and it was a dominant second half performance against Clemson. And if you look at the box score, it's going to say they only won that second half by 8, but Clemson had a late 3 there. And realistically, with 4 minutes left to go, Duke was already up 22 at this point, and the game was clearly in hand. And again, they made a point in the broadcast how solid Duke has been defensively. I think they've given up 70 points twice in the last month, and that was one win at SMU and then the loss against Carolina and Chapel Hill. Even with Duke's dominant performance today against Clemson, there's still a ton for this team to play for in these final, 5-6 games left in the regular season. And if you look at it, there's clearly an ACC banner, which they can really take hold of in that Virginia game in a couple weeks. The game against Michigan and DC less than a week from now is going to basically, whoever wins that is probably going to lock in getting a number 1 seed. And that's going to be extremely valuable for Duke, because if they are to win that game, I do think that then puts them into the 1 seed in the East versus having to be the 1 seed in the South. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with the Big 12 in Houston. Houston could potentially play its way to being a 1 seed in the South if they do end up winning the Big 12, which means they would get to play at home for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. But that was a big reason why people, not that you want to avoid being a 1 seed, because the seeding is what matters and there's a ton that can happen in an NCAA tournament. But realistically, the 1 seed in the South would get Houston as the 2 seed and would have to potentially play Houston in the Elite 8 for a chance to go to the Final Four. So if Duke is able to get that 1 seed out East, I do think it would really set them up to have way more success. I think the East bracket is back in DC, which is just a few hours north of Durham. So again, it's a huge game for them in that Michigan game. And then you end the season with State and Carolina. You're obviously going to want to beat State. And then you definitely want to get your lick back against UNC after what happened in the Dean Dome about a week ago now. And that Michigan game should be extremely exciting. Honestly, this whole last little 5 bits should be extremely exciting for Duke fans. You have enough cash in the bank if you do slip up once or twice. You have the revenge factor to beating North Carolina. You're prepping yourself to go win the ACC with regular season and in Charlotte. And that Michigan game, I think, will be the toughest game Duke has played since they played Texas Tech in Madison Square Garden, who also is now having a tremendous year and just beat Arizona on the road. So for Duke, there's a ton to still figure out with this team. I think they do have a lot of cash in the bank. At worst, this Duke team is a 2 seed. But realistically, if they are able to beat Michigan, close out the ACC with the ACC regular season title, even with maybe one more drop loss, which I still honestly don't think will happen. I think they could run the table from this point on, at least through the regular season. You're gonna have yourself as a 1 seed and probably a 1 seed in the East. So big ups for Duke, man. They're having another good season. And while the start of ACC play was shaky in the fact of they didn't lose games, but they just didn't look great against certain teams like SMU without Boobie Miller, the Georgia Tech game. But you look at where you're at now. You have a clear hold on the number 1 seed going into Charlotte. You have a clear hold and clear path to being the number 1 seed in the March Madness tournament. Everything Duke needed to set out to do at the beginning of the year is set up to do. Now you just got to go finish the job in March. So please hit like, hit subscribe, and your name in the portal, and we'll see you guys on the next one.